Breaking details in the case that's got the nation on the edge of its seat. The desperate search for Nancy Guthrie has entered day 6. Law enforcement racing against the clock as the first ransom note deadline reportedly expired yesterday. Now, that was at 5 p.m. local time, 7 p.m. Eastern. And the FBI confirming that the next deadline, and the more serious one, according to TMZ, is set for Monday. Arizona investigators say they believe the 84-year-old mother is still out there. The Guthrie family releasing a second video pleading for any proof of life for Nancy's potential captors.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host, Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Sandra Smith, co-anchor of America Reports, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, and Griff Jenkins, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Let's begin here. Here is what we now know at this moment, that investigators are on the case, and they have not identified a person of interest. We were told that yesterday emphatically during that press conference. The FBI, however, is offering a $50,000 reward for information either leading to Nancy's rescue or to the arrest of anyone involved in her disappearance. TMZ founder Harvey Levin says his outlet received a copy of the alleged ransom note. He was one of 3, and he provided new information about it to Hannity last night.
When I said there are 2 deadlines, yes, there is one that changes the demand, and that's the one that that has already passed. And the one on Monday is far more consequential. There is a phrase in this email that absolutely makes me believe this person who wrote this, and if they're telling the truth, that Nancy is within a radius of the Tucson area, not in Tucson right now, but in a radius. It could be New Mexico. I don't know how far, but I think at least what the authorities have is they've got a radius, and that's something.
Mary Coleman, an Arizona news anchor, says her network also received a copy of the alleged ransom note. She saw the note and had this to say.
We were frankly surprised that they released so many of those details. They were, the PCSD anyway, was happy that we had kept a lot of those hush-hush. So the fact that the FBI came out with some of those intimate details was pretty surprising to us. A lot of the facts were correlating, but we are still not talking about the contents of the letter just yet. But some of the information that they released, I will say a lot of it is accurate compared to what we have.
What time that KOLD received the ransom note as it pertains to kind of that timeline? Was it Saturday night or Sunday morning?
I believe it was Monday, actually, that we received that.
Law enforcement is promising to look into all leads. And meanwhile, Nancy Guthrie's neighbor told the New York Post he reported a suspicious white van parked on their block days before Nancy went missing. He described the white van as, quote, full-sized with no printing on the sides. It was parked on the street, and normally people that are coming to work on your way home will have a company vehicle, or if they're independent, something written on it. You know, Harris, we know that there are more than 100 tips, all of them taken seriously, and any of these one tips can be the break in the case. You know, with Elizabeth Smart, it was a tip that led police to go to a car on the side of the road. There were many erroneous tips before then, but the one tip made the difference.
Yeah, what's interesting, you know, I worked on America's Most Wanted. I hosted the missing persons version of that. And it's a lot different to have a bevy of tips and to have really true core at the heart ones that you can use. 100 seems pretty low.
It does.
And I'm thinking that the FBI getting involved is going to bump that up. But you do want enough to look at so that you can extrapolate that out to some answers. Part of the issue has been the lack of cameras in that area and those that could actually see the property where Nancy Guthrie lived, either for low lighting purposes or just because of the way the homes are set back. We've talked a lot about that in Tucson, Arizona, that area that she lives in. But I thought this was interesting. From what I learned last hour on the Faulkner Focus and interviews that I conducted about that white van, Paul Murrow told me that the police did respond. He said the problem is there was no sort of, well, the van was gone by the time they got there. There was no sort of follow through to figure out, well, was that even part of anybody's life at that point? Was that person there and just didn't know where to park? Or were they just transient through the neighborhood, so on and so forth? So I don't know. He said he didn't make that much of it at the time. Paul didn't. But getting those answers would have mattered. We don't have those answers because that van is gone. And again, if you had cameras that could have picked even that up, you'd have that as well. So that's a huge gap. And because of that, I think that kind of constricts how wide your circle can get with tips.
Yeah, Sandra, when you look at the alleged ransom note, we've heard a consistent message from Savannah and then last night from Cameron saying, we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. They are clearly trying to open a line of communication. But what strikes me as is so odd is you would think that someone who wants a ransom would communicate back in some way. At least what the public knows, that has yet to happen.
Feels like the ransom note, at least we can cling to hope that somebody's holding on to her, right? And that she is on the other side and possibly there could be a negotiation, at least communications. I worry about clinging to that false hope. Without an authentication, without really knowing that ransom note is real and that somebody is holding on to this dear woman. There's so many things that concern me that we learned from that news conference. We carried it live during America Reports yesterday. Harris, you and I were going back and forth with the timeline. I mean, that is everything right now. We are clinging to that timeline. And to see that 41 minutes in the middle of the night in which, the Ring camera stopped working, her pacemaker became disconnected, something obviously happened. I've dug deep into what happens on those cameras when they're not paying for the subscription, so there's no video, but it alerted that a person went by one of those cameras. But then when the sheriff was asked which camera was this, he couldn't explain that. I'm thinking about the detailed nature of these investigations. This is camera 1, this is in the hallway, this is outside the door, this is the camera that identified a person. To not have that answer really sort of concerned me yesterday. I'm sure somebody has the answer to that question. I'm also concerned about the familiarity when you look at the timeline and you look at the person or whoever it was that pulled that camera from the front porch, that could they have known that there wasn't a subscription? So where's the details over, was there ever a subscription? Was that subscription canceled? I'm sure there are answers to this, but when the details are so vague and they're not providing that information to the public, I mean, that's where we leave room. We start speculating ourselves, and this is just really, really, really tough. And that family is hurting. And it really got to me in the first video when Savannah Guthrie detailed how much pain her mother was in because of her heart condition to begin with. And you think about her without her medications right now, without her family, and how scared she must be if, God willing, she is alive. I'm just praying for her comfort wherever she is. And
Amen.
This is just incredibly, incredibly difficult for everyone.
No doubt. We've been trying to get clarity on the cameras for a few days now. I mean, back and forth with Paul Morrow yesterday, trying to figure that out. And we're just now getting some of the details, but they're still vague. And there are a lot of questions, Griff, about cameras outside on the street. Let's watch Alicia Acuna. She took the route. This would have been the last route that Nancy took home with her son-in-law the night she was taken, I should say.
We're in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, and we're going to help folks just understand exactly where it is that she lives, the neighborhood. It's in Tucson, but it kind of feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to take you on a drive to her daughter Annie's home. Orange Grove is one of the main arteries on this part of town. You can kind of see it's a busy street, and this is how most of the larger avenues and streets in the city of Tucson are, because folks don't have any other choice. They don't have a major highway or freeway going through the center of town. They have to take these routes. So we're coming up on what looks like the first major intersection where you have lights on all four sides on the way to Annie's house. And so this is an area where we can see cameras. This was a 4.5-mile drive, 10 minutes going the speed limit, and we can see here at Annie's house, Savannah Guthrie's sister's home. The media is gathered here, and we have arrived.
I mean, Griff, you're just looking at every inch of that journey.
Yeah, you sure are. And by the way, we have the FBI specialists out there, the hostage negotiators, but you've also got Border Patrol's BORTAC and BORSTAR. They are the best of the best in the nation to work in rural and off-beaten areas like we just saw on that drive. But let me just go back to something Sandra said is so important. That 41-minute span between 1:47 a.m. when they knock off the camera to 2:28 when her pacemaker goes offline. That suggests that whoever took her spent 41 minutes in that home with her. That could lead to the fact that they were known to her. But usually abductions aren't 41-minute events. Did they know that she needed the medicine, so they were gathering the medicines to take her? We don't know, but there's real questions about that. And if you go back to that KOLD anchor, Mary Coleman, who I asked her, when did you get the note? She says Monday morning. Now, that is well before this was a major story. And it suggests that whoever wrote the alleged ransom note was quite familiar with her. And so that certainly leads toward more validity that maybe the ransom is legit. And of course, as you mentioned, Savannah and now Cameron's message, which has clearly got language specific coached from the hostage negotiators that want to communicate with whoever took her. I just wonder whether or not the ransom note may actually be real and that whoever took her is at least known to her enough to spend 41 minutes with her before they departed the residence.
Molly, we do have some additional footage that we'll pull up, and this is that same route that was taken and kind of some of the underlying roads around the area, and our viewers can watch that here. And the reason I pulled this up is because we do know that there were cameras along the route. You could see them circled here. So these are cameras in the immediate vicinity of the home, right outside. Maybe a potential abductor would have taken some of these roads. And when I'm interested in this because if it's 2 a.m., let's say we've pinpointed the time. Let's say she goes out by car. You would think there's not a lot of cars on the road, right, and that every license plate would be scanned on some of these cameras.
Yeah, and that was the exact thought I had when all of this was unfolding, when they were talking about how far apart the homes are in the very vicinity of Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. But then further away, there are these cameras. And just recently in the Brown University shooting, there was a witness that keyed in on a car, and that car was flagged in other places, and that helped connect the Brown University shooter to the shooter of the MIT professor a little further north, and it helped trace the vehicle to where it was ultimately found later on. So that's absolutely part of this investigation, and hopefully one that they're exploring, not necessarily connected to that white van, but just more broadly. And then we do have this very confined crime scene, at least on the stoop, but we don't have a lot of information about what may or may not have been found in the house. And I think your point, Griff, about the ransom note potentially coming in that Monday morning to the newsroom is a very important one, and one I'm sure the FBI is considering greatly. But in that note, supposedly the individual, the alleged kidnapper or hostage taker, was talking about how this is the only communication. And if that's going to be your only communication, you better sell that you are the actual person. And they apparently included some information in there related to an Apple Watch. Granted, she had been photographed with it. But if we're talking about the placement of something, perhaps it was placed somewhere odd. So if you're going to make this your only communication, you want to make that as believable as possible. Perhaps that's why the FBI is looking so closely.
If the goal is money. Like, I don't know that we're necessarily clear on what the goal is here. And by the way, that 41 minutes is key. They left without her cane. They could see she needed that. The medicine she had to probably tell somebody. But she could barely walk. I mean, the sheriff said she could not walk 50 yards if she had to.
Also, we should all be deeply concerned about the time in which they turned over the home and declared it no longer a crime scene.
Yeah.
If somebody spent 41 minutes, could have been 40. Remember that the heart detection, the pacemaker, could go, I think John Roberts said about
100 feet away.
100 feet. So maybe the car had already left the driveway when it disconnected.
Yeah.
So maybe it's 39, 40. But still, if you're spending 40 minutes in the home with her, there's got to be some sort of,
DNA.
Something.
Yeah.
Perhaps we're still waiting on that, but they turned over the house, and the feds came in and said, "Whoa, tape it off.
We need access.
We need to get back in there."
And the sheriff said, hindsight is 20/20.
Yes.
He shouldn't have done that.
Exactly. And I think you asked a key question, what is the motive here? I mean, we know she was 84 years old, so it has to be something personal, which is hard to believe. She's a church-going woman and doesn't have a lot of enemies. Or number two, money. But we still await communication.
There's also, I think, a cruelty to the public nature that these ransom notes have created, if in fact that is the person.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will keep following it.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.